Welcome, everybody, to the CBSI comicbookinvest.com Hot 10 list for the week of June 26, 2020. I am Bryan McClay from the Tales from the Flipside crew, and I am welcomed by the writer of the Hot List and co-host of the Flipside, Ben Stein. We want to give a big shout out to everybody out there that is watching the show right now. Thank you for tuning in. Also, big shout out to the Bird City crew who weren't able to make it tonight. They have some family things going on, so we want to give them a big shout out and say hope everything is well. Other than that, we're just going to get started in this list. It's a crazy list again this week. I'm telling you guys, speculation excitement is back, and it seems like it's getting to the point where it's getting as exciting as it's ever gotten. I don't know if we'll ever get back to those Thanos Avengers days, but it feels like it's getting there. I don't know. What do you think?
It's a different. It's a completely different realm because all the Marvel stuff is not really tied to anything. There's no movies out, so there's no, after credit scenes or anything like that. Is there any, even other than maybe some Disney Plus shows, is anything even being filmed right now?
That's the problem, is that I don't think there is, and maybe that's helping this. People are getting their excitement from somewhere else, and it's more comic book based and less movie based.
Yeah. I mean, wasn't kind of the sentiment that, hey, at some point these movies are going to lose some luster, and when that happens, are comics just going to basically kind of peter out or whatever? But it sure doesn't seem like that. It doesn't seem like that's happening at all.
Yeah, it's crazy. And we also want to say thank you to everybody in the chat tonight. We really appreciate it. You guys add a little extra excitement to the show when the chat is up and jumping, and we really appreciate it, everybody. Thanks for joining in live. And for everybody out there, just in case you don't know, if you don't know, now you do know, the Hot 10 list is put up on comicbookinvest.com every Friday. You can see it right there on the right side. Just scroll down, you'll see it there, presented nice for everybody to see right there on the right side. But on top of that, you also get all the amazing articles that are written every week by everybody at comicbookinvest.com. There are some really amazing stuff on this website, and if you guys aren't checking out, reading some of these articles, you're missing a whole lot, especially in the spec world. Some of these articles are amazing, i.e. True First. Also, make sure you guys are checking out all these first appearances lists, all this cool stuff that's going on. A lot of good stuff. But more than that, I also want to say, make sure you guys are checking out some of the amazing podcasts that we're working with comicbookinvest.com to put out, and things like 3 Comic Monty, Vintage Voyage, the Hot 10 show. There's some really good shows that are coming, from some different avenues that you might not realize is out there. So make sure you guys are checking out those shows. And if you ever want to, go see those shows, you can go to Tales from the Flipside YouTube channel. Make sure you like and subscribe. And at any time one of those new shows pops up, you'll get a little notification if you hit that bell. So go ahead and hit that bell, and you'll get notified every time something new is out. Other than that, let's go ahead and get into this. The craziness this week seems to always come. It seems like it's either Star Wars. The craziness last couple months, it seemed like it's Star Wars, Miles, or Peach from Momoko. And I don't know if that's changed. I think it's still there. And this list this week is very interesting. So why don't we get it?
I think it's kind of spidering out from those cores.
I agree. And this week's Golden Age book this week is an interesting one. This is Ranger Comics. And what's going on with this book, Ben?
Yeah, this is issue number 29. It's obviously a crazy looking cover here. With some bondage and this Tiger Man or something, whatever this guy is who's doing, looks like he's in a Matrix pose or whatever. But
yeah,
there was first of all, for a book from the late 40s to have a 9.6 non-pedigree copy out there is insane. But it did come up for auction this week, sold for $6,600. which the same book in 7 years ago sold for $1,800. So that's how much it's risen in the past 7 years. But I've kind of made the comment, this is obviously a bondage cover, and usually I want to say bondage, female bondage cover, which is we're very prevalent back in the 40s and 50s pre-code, and those books always command premium. I know in the world we live today, these type of things are kind of frowned upon. Something like this would, well, and honestly, it really kind of was already shot down. That Joker
Albuquerque cover, right?
Yeah, the Albuquerque got nixed when people actually, or there was outcry about it. So comics like this, where it shows kind of women in these kind of states, it's not really going to happen today. But I think the theme that I kind of threw on the website in the list this week is this is kind of mark in time. It's a mark in time. You don't have to like what it represented. Honestly, there was a lot of very racist toward, this was right after World War II, so there was a lot of racist stuff towards Japanese. There was a lot of Hitler stuff on some of these covers. Things that you would never see today. And it's not necessarily, glamorizing those type of things, but what it is when people are crying out against something, it makes people want that. It's just kind of our human nature, whether you want it to happen or don't. If somebody tells you can't, if they say, hey, go on a diet, it sounds great until you actually try and do that. Now you want food more than you probably ever wanted it before. It's just kind of psychological, but I think that plays into a lot of these things. These books are not going anywhere. They're not going to be burned. They're there. They're collectible, and they bring these big dollars.
Yeah. Yep. And this being one of them recently, what did this sell for recently?
$6,600 this week.
Wow. Jeez.
I mean, it's a beautiful cover. Lots of colors going on. Kind of gets all the check marks, other than the fact that she's in a blue dress rather than a red dress. But
yeah, which is kind of weird.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is that, what'd you say? One of these went for $1,300 or $1,800 back in 2013, and now 9.6 sold for $6,600.
Yeah,
the same copy.
I believe it's the same book, because I think this might be the only 9.6 copy.
Unbelievable to see that much of a price, hike in that short a time. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So.
Very cool. All right, on to the second gold honorable mention this week, and this is something I love. I don't get a lot of hate for it, but I know there's people that can't stand this mixing the magazines in with the comics and all this fun stuff. But I'm one of those guys. I love this type of stuff. I love collecting this type of like you said, it's kind of spiders out from the main comic or other things. If you're a fan and you're especially a super fan of a character, you love collecting these type of appearances. At least I do. And this week it's Star Wars Rebels magazine. And this is something crazy, because for all those people out there that don't like the magazine sales and the preview sales and this and that, when they're selling for the amount of money they're selling for, it's hard to hate. And it's hard, even if you have one of those books and you're hating, not to put it up, because a recent copy of this, which is some people are calling the first appearance of Sabine Wren, sold for $425+, which is crazy.
Yeah. And I'm going to be the first person to say that I don't collect previews. I don't collect, foreign appearances as first appearances. I don't collect magazines as first appearances or TV guides or whatever. But I know that in the same breath, I know that people do. And just because I don't collect it and don't consider it a first appearance, when I think of first appearance, I'm thinking of first appearance in a U.S. comic book, format. But just because I don't collect it and somebody else does and is willing to pay $425, doesn't mean I'm going to sit there and hate on it. if I see this book, don't think I'm not going to buy it. I mean, if I can find it in the wild, I'll buy it and let somebody else, enjoy it for what it is. I have no problem with that at all. I don't understand why people would like crush a portion of. I mean, they do the same thing with variants. I don't. Oh, okay, variants are stupid, or they're not going to be worth anything. Well, you can think that, but clearly over the past 10 years, I mean, it's a big sample size now. Variants are not going anywhere. They're worth a lot of money, and they're really the good ones are not going down in value. Don't hate on that portion of the. You're kind of cutting yourself out of the pie by just saying, "Oh, I don't like that." Well, okay, well, I don't necessarily like it, but if somebody else does, I will capitalize off that.
Yeah. Yep. And people are doing it. So, there's people are finding these books in their boxes or finding them on shelves of bookstores or, something that sells old magazines. So if you're not out there looking for these kind of things, then, you're missing a big chunk of change that you could be making. So.
Yeah.
Before we get into the rest of the list, I want to give another big shout out to the Bird City Comics crew. Make sure you check them out on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Bird City Comics or on Instagram @Bird City Comics. Doing cool things in the community, and we can't say we appreciate them enough. So make sure you guys go check out Bird City Comics.
Yes, and thoughts and prayers with both of them tonight.
Yes, exactly. Number 10. This is a book that is the bane in my existence. This is the number one book that I have been looking for probably 5 years now that I can't even get a sniff of. I don't think I've ever seen one in the wild. This is a hard book for anybody to find, and I've been looking for 5 years and haven't been able to find one for a price point that I'm willing to pay. And I'm not saying I'm not willing to pay what it's worth now, but man, this book is just really tough to find, and that's Invincible #1 from Image Comics.
Yeah, and it looks like you probably a few months ago you probably should have just pulled the trigger when 9/8 were selling for $650.
Yes,
because they are now back to $1,200, so they're back double what they were just a few months ago. Several copies have sold well over 1,000 this week, and I think there was some news or talk or something about not only just the animated series, but maybe that I guess either Kirkman said that there's going to be a live action. I'm not 100% sure, but so I guess that's what probably prompted the high sales this week. I think you're on mute, Brian.
My bad. The producer.
Hey, put your headphones in. Mic on.
Ben's making fun of me, guys. Sorry we were late today. We were a little late because I couldn't get Ben's audio to work because my headphones weren't in. And for some reason, when you don't have headphones in, audio don't work. So, but there's other good Invincible books out there to spec on. We've talked about them a lot. The Noble Causes, quote unquote, first appearance. If you look up, make sure if you're going to buy the Noble Causes one, you pick up the homage cover, which I believe is the B cover. It's an homage to X-Men 141, which has Invincible on the cover, which is definitely the one you want to pick up if you're going to pick it up. Also, there's some previews out there available. G.I. Joe has one. I think I can't remember what issue, but it's got the battle android, the bat on the cover. There is the Masters of the Universe #1 that has it. A couple other books that have the preview in it as well. So I think Savage Dragon has a preview in it. So make sure if you guys are going to spec on Invincible, maybe those would be some cheaper version of the Invincible #1 spec, as well as the Larry comics. But make sure that if you're out there looking to buy an Invincible #1, it is the real #1 and not the Larry comics version. So, or
what is it? Is it number 51 that looks that has like the same? Is it that what it is? Something?
Yeah.
Another one. Yeah. Or 75 or something like that. It looks like the same cover.
Yeah, and there's a couple homage variants that they've put out to #1. I think they did like an anniversary issue when Image did its anniversary stuff. So just just keep your eyes out there. And like JJ says, there's a lot of Invincible variants and second prints that are hard to find within that run. That run is hard to find in general, just because it's such a good run and so many people, hoard those books. But very cool stuff. So yeah. Sean says Fear Agent number 6. So I'm guessing Fear Agent 6 might have a preview in it. I'm not sure. But if it is, that's interesting to me. All right, on to number 9, and this is a newer book this week. This is Star Wars Bounty Hunter number 3, the Bosk variant, or the Michael Golden 1 in 25 variant.
Yeah, it's a. I don't know about you, but it's like the colors, like they're very striking on this one. And I mentioned, I'm not sure, is there another Bosk cover of anything he's ever?
Not when he's by himself that I can think of.
Yeah, I can't think of. I mean, maybe there is, but I mean, I just couldn't think of anything off the top of my head. But yeah, selling for double ratio. Just came out this week, so it's selling for $50. These Star Wars offshoot, titles that have these 1 in 25 variants, they seem to just every week that they come out, they do well.
Yeah.
I don't know when people are actually going to just start over ordering some of these off titles. I don't know, or they're just never going to. I don't know, but yeah, this one's pretty cool. Everybody, Star Wars fans love all these bounty hunters, and yeah, JJ Maxwell said this looks like Francavilla.
It does.
And I agree. It has that feel. It's a cool looking cover, so I can see why it's selling for $50.
Yeah. Yep. All right. On to number 8. Now this is a fun one. Amazing Spider-Man number 4. The first appearance of Silk.
Yeah, this one's probably been on our Hot 10. Gosh, I can't. More fingers than I have over the past few years. It's been just every time it's just kind of up and down, up and down. It's been riding this. I think this is kind of being pulled in with the Miles, excitement and stuff like that. They're like, okay, if Miles is going to do this, and they're going to start, they're going to pull Miles into the MCU. How are they going to pull, when are they going to pull Silk in? Kind of along with that. But there's a lot of 9/8s out there. I'm not going to say that there's not. There's a lot. I don't have the exact number right in front of me, but I know there is a bunch. But 9/8s are up to $250 now, which for a book that is kind of not rare is a lot. And she's never really been in anything. I mean, at all, right? I mean, not even nothing
I can think of. Yeah, I mean, there's always been the hype surrounding her, but I don't think it's ever been hype as a character like by herself. It's always been she's going to be in a movie with 2 other characters or a cartoon with 2 other characters. I know there was the Spider-Women thing that they were talking about for a while, where it was Spider-Gwen, Silk, and maybe Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman, doing something. Or there's always talk where Silk is being talked about, but it seems like she's always like a cast member, not the leading role.
Right. Yeah. I did mention, and you guys can hate on Campbell all you want, but I am surprised at the Campbell variant because it is, it is a store variant, but it's not that terribly easy to find. But I'm surprised that it's 9/8 of those are only about $100 more than this regular A cover.
I wonder if do you think that's because of the character, or because maybe people are getting a little soured on the Campbell art because they're seeing so much of it?
I don't know. I mean, it's got Silk on this cover, even though it's really just kind of her arm and the hand. I mean, I don't know if you looked at the hands, but I'm sorry, the hands are terrible on this,
yes.
On this cover. I mean, they're really bad.
Yeah.
But so, I mean, she's on the cover, but not really on the cover because it's kind of just her arm, but the Campbell has Black Cat on the cover, not Silk. So I don't know if that falls into it or not, but I do I like the Campbell cover.
So do I.
Not only the color. I don't like the
negative.
Yeah, the negative or whatever it is. I don't like that one, but yeah, so it's
Well, there's a lot of people that have been talking about this character for a long time, and I'm sure a lot of those people have held a couple of copies back or two. But this character, even when she came out, they were talking about her being the character to go buy over Spider-Gwen, who came out I think the same week or like a week later, and everybody was like, "Oh, don't worry about Spider-Gwen, just go for Silk." And then everybody was like, "Well, let's flip that around." So it'll be interesting to see where this one ends up. On to number 7. This is a fun book for me. I love the Static run, especially. We all know those later issues, but this is a great book, especially right now. I don't see them, putting away. Well, I hope they don't. I hope that they will see some live action stuff from him soon. Who knows? But Static number 1 from Milestone /DC Studios. Interesting book to be on the list this week.
Yeah, it's another one that, again, the print run on this is probably, I mean, a lot. I mean, there is a lot. Now, most of these, I think, probably were shoved in dollar bins over the years and have kind of just been forgotten about. So I'm thinking, could be completely wrong, but I'm thinking that a lot of these issues may not be in the greatest of shape, especially this one was in the poly bag. So, I like the blue cover better. It's more of an action photo than this one, or action drawing than this is. But they both had price jumps this week. This one up to about $30. The blue one's about $35 to $40. There's the platinum version as well that you don't see very often at all.
No. One of the things that I love about this comic doesn't happen until way later in the run. It's one of the issues that is super tough to find, and that is the Lost Boys issue, which you guys can see here. I'll try to make this a little bit larger for you guys. And I'm a big fan of the late 90s era hip hop group from New York, the Lost Boys. I don't think people realize that when they say the Static, the Lost Boys cover, that they're thinking about the hip hop group. I think they think maybe the movie. But as you can see, this right here on the cover has the Lost Boys on the cover. This is a really tough book to find. I search for it every time I get a chance. But very cool cover. And this is cool information. So if you guys,
what issue is that?
I believe this is issue 40. Does that sound right? Yeah, 40.
So it's way at the end of the run.
Yeah, and those last 5 issues of this book, I think 40 to 45, are super tough to find. I think it ends at 45. Am I correct?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, but super tough to find, and this being one of them. So if you guys are fans of hip hop or the Lost Boys, or if you've never heard of the Lost Boys, definitely go check out the Lost Boys and the amazing group. Rest in peace to Freaky Taw. Let's go ahead and move on here to the next one, which got to have Null somewhere on here.
Yeah, Venom 3, the third print, still going up in value. We talked about Venom 3, the first print last week, possibly getting a bump because Miles, was part of that book. This obviously he's in this book as well, just a different cover, but 9/8 are now 400 for this. Raw copies are 150 to 175 and pushing 200. That's a lot for a third print. Again, we've talked about this book before. It is a really cool looking cover. I'm not going to say it's not. And even with the haters of, second, third, fourth, whatever printings, again, you can not like it all you want, but somebody is buying these. I don't have a copy of this. I've never seen this one in the wild. So
I'll be honest. When I saw this cover, this cover is cool. The throne and everything is cool. But when I first saw this character, I was like, that character looks really cheesy. Character just doesn't look like a good character to me when it first came out. So I was so cold on the character to begin with, and what a wrong move that was. So, yeah, oops. This character is going to be a big character, and now I find myself going out and buying books like Wraith just because of this character. So there is a lot of craziness going on in the spec world with Null and Venom. So Two Tech says, I hope I say that right, says, I sold this for $25 and thought I was slick. Yeah, well, at least you sold it. At least you sold one.
Hey, I'm sure you just reinvested that $25 into something better, so you can't look back. I mean,
yeah, you're right. All right, number 5 this week. This is another fun book for me. I think I talked about this last week, and that is first appearance of Echo, the character that is Echo in the Daredevil books, and then later becomes, takes over the Ronin mask from Hawkeye, and that's Daredevil number 9, I believe, right? Number 9. Does that sound right?
Yeah. And it made the list last week. I think this is the only repeat from last week, and so that it was started. Last week it was basically kind of less than $10 book, moved up to 25. Now it's up to 40 to 50. So with things opening back up, it's probably going to be difficult to find this. Maybe it's stuck in but it's still possible, I would say. I know I've seen this run with these MAC covers many times in like half price books and stuff like that. So if you have one of those, Second and Charles or something like that, you may be able to find this run. I think it's the number 10 that she's on the cover as well, I believe, where it's just her.
Just her face, right, or something like that.
Yeah, well, it's a cool looking cover. I think maybe it's 10. But I know I've passed those. I know I've passed that particular one up so many times, even though I'm like, that's a really nice cover, and I don't really know why I should buy this, but I probably should. But here we go. I'll show this for everybody out there. This is a really sweet cover that you're talking about, which is Daredevil number 10. Let me see if we can do this here. Make sure you guys get a chance to check this out. There we go. Boom. Yeah, there you go.
So there's another cover, the issue immediately following, where she's on the cover. So maybe we'll see a spike on this one in the.
Now, is that I can't tell because it's so small, but is that Quesada or is that?
Yeah, that's Quesada on the cover, but it looks like David Mack. I mean, it looks like he's doing his David Mack style, but right. It is Quesada. Yeah,
well, maybe it's a dual. Maybe they both.
It is dual. It does. It's
the background has to be Mack, right?
Yeah, it does. And now that you're saying that, as you guys, I don't know if you can see here. Let's see here. It says Quesada on the top and Mack on the bottom. So.
Okay, yeah, I was like, the background is exactly what Mack. So. But yeah. So I think either of those books is probably, if you may still be able to find those in back issue bins. Yeah,
and it's definitely a character that has some rise in it. So maybe go look through your comic boxes or hit up your half price books or Second and Charles and that type of stuff. On to number 4 this week, and this is a fun book. Flashpoint number 1. This is the Gravity Comics, or is it Gravity that put this out? This
I'm not sure. I've only seen it as listed as the San Diego Comic-Con, but I don't know who actually sold it.
Yeah, I believe it was Gravity, but I'm not. I might be spacing on the name there. But this is the San Diego Comic-Con variant for Flashpoint number 1. Beautiful gatefold cover. Has the Flash on the front, and then the almost same image on the back is Zoom, or is it Zoom? I think it is Zoom that did the Flashpoint, Reverse Flash, whatever. And a beautiful cover. Beautiful cover. What's going on with this?
So and it kind of ties into number 3 as well, but there was some news with Michael Keaton this week, reprising his Batman role, which a lot of us love that idea, because it's kind of where we first really saw Batman on the big screen and stuff like that, and then the thought was that he was going to somehow be tied into this Flash movie, which is going to be based on Flashpoint. And so the thought was that Jeffrey Dean Morgan was going to reprise his role as Thomas Wayne Batman, which his first appearance is in this. It appears that all this information was kind of thrown out there either by the studio or something as kind of fake news. So a lot of people bought this. It's still actually selling for 25 to 30. Last week it was selling for $5. So it's still, if you can find it for $5, great. It's a cheap, whatever. But it doesn't sound like it's going to have any ties to any kind of movies. So I would suspect that this is going to fall right back down to $5.
Well, we'll see. And like Kent said, it is Graffiti Comics and not Gravity Comics. And if you guys know, I think Graffiti is a company that does a lot of the comic book shirts that they sell. They have a huge shirt stall at all the cons and stuff. And at one point, you could have bought these books straight from them. I don't think they're available anymore. So there is quite a few of these out there. So just remember that. All right. On to number 3, as you were talking earlier, it has a little bit to do with Batman, and this is the type of book I love to see on the list because this is the type of book that anybody can still find in $1.50 bins. Yeah,
and first off, this is Denny O'Neil, so that's awesome to start with. But this is the movie adaptation from the first Batman. You can find this everywhere. I mean, back then when they did these adaptations, they printed just an enormous amount of these because that was kind of like a marketing tool for them to do that. But so you can find this in dollar bins. I've seen this many times in dollar bins. I've never, even though I'm a huge Batman fan, I've never actually bought this book. I probably should have just to at least have a copy, but never did. But with this Michael Keaton news, obviously that's going to be the Michael Keaton Batman because this is an adaptation from the movie. $20 or more. I think I saw some $30 copies for, near mint plus copies. So, but I would suspect that there's going to be a flood of these available. So I mentioned on the website that, it's kind of, this is kind of has the FOMO feel, like, oh, there's Michael Keaton, let's buy this book, and then realize, not thinking, oh gosh, there's probably 300,000 copies of this out there, and does this really have any significance? I mean, I guess kind of, but
hey, the spec game. That's the spec game, unfortunately.
Hey, grab it, anything, because you never. Some of the things that have stuck are just amazing to me.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of books on our list this week that are definitely in that. We'll get to that a little bit later. Number 2 this week is a fun one. This is Thor number 5. I'm surprised we haven't had more people talking about Donny Cates' Thor run. I think they have been, but anytime Donny Cates is doing anything, nowadays people are just rabid about. So Thor number 5 from Donny Cates.
Yeah, and this has got some. Okay, so this is. I've not read any of this, so I know that there are people way more versed in this than I am. But this is supposedly the first full appearance of this Black Winter character. I've seen numerous posts where people have posted pictures showing this Black Winter dialogue in Silver Surfer Black, I believe. So much so, some other places are reporting that this is not the first appearance, that the first appearance was in some Silver Surfer book. But I mean, apparently all this information and Donny Cates is very in tune and in touch with, the comic community and everything like that. And he got a hold of that information and wrote a tweet, and he was not happy about it. It's like, no, this is the first appearance in Thor 5. He was never in, Silver Surfer. Anything that you think that you don't know, stop reporting that stuff as fact. So I don't know. I don't really know. I don't really care. All I know is it was selling. 15 for this A cover, $15 to $20 just came out this week. The 1 in 25, 70. I think I saw an $80 or $85 sale. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if I posed this question on the website. I don't know if Cates is trying to kind of duplicate his Null success, or is it Null or Canol or however you say it. I don't know if he's trying to duplicate that. I don't know if this character is going to somehow be related to Null. I don't know, but that's kind of where we're at.
Well, it's interesting because this comment from JJ Maxwell says, I actually think Cates is losing his luster for some folks. And that's an interesting take, because I wonder if he's starting to lose their luster because of how he's reacting in the community. That was all fun and games at first, but now it seems like people are starting to maybe shy away from it.
Yeah, he obviously, he takes a lot of ideas and retcon stuff and kind of teases and then pulls back, and in a lot of ways it feels like he's kind of toying with the the collectible community, when he could pretty much control it if as a writer, if you think you can do something, you can go back and pull any bizarre thing from a different writer and know full well that you're going to use that or something like that. But I think Cates, the stuff that I've ever read from Cates, I think he does a great job. I really do. But he writes a lot. He writes a lot of different things at the same time. And I know that's got to be really difficult. I don't know how long he can keep that up and keep his sanity at the same time. Yeah,
it's tough. But he's creating excitement, and you got to like that. All right, before we get on to the number one books this week, I want to give a shout out to the Absolute Geek crew, Absolute Geek Podcast. They just got done interviewing Jack O'Halloran, who played Non in the Man of Steel or the Superman 2, an amazing person in real life, just away from his acting career. This guy has some amazing stories to tell. So if you guys get a chance, go check out episode 252 of the Absolute Geek Podcast on YouTube, and check out this amazing Jack O'Halloran interview. You'll never believe some of the stuff that this guy lived through. Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. Make sure you guys definitely go check that out. On top of that, do yourself a favor and head on over to comicbookinvest.com and check out some of the really cool articles that are going on over there. Do yourself a favor and make sure to never miss A True First by Topher, one of the most amazing articles or writers on the docket, doing some amazing stuff over there. His True First, just amazing information and fun stuff for collectors out there. So make sure you guys.
Who else is talking about Daria?
Right? I've
heard Daria since I was in college.
Yeah, this guy is he's pulling out information that a lot of us wish we could have thought of first. This guy does it week in and week out. So if you guys want to get really, really deep into the spec game, do yourself a favor and go check out True First, where you can see stuff like this. Marvel Age number 134, which is the first appearance and full appearance of Daria in comics. So if Comedy Central does have some Daria stuff coming, this is the book you want to get. So again, amazing stuff that Topher is doing, and go check it out. Cool stuff.
Yeah, and again, I want to thank everybody in the chat. I want to thank everybody who's watching this after the fact. We really appreciate it. We do this for you. We don't get paid for this, so we're doing this for you guys. So we really appreciate the support.
And also, we want to give a big shout out to the mighty Mel V, who couldn't be here with us tonight. He will be back, ladies and gentlemen. There's nothing better than the mighty Mel V, especially when he's on the show. Make sure you guys go subscribe to the mighty Mel V channel and check out Drunken Chat Son and the stuff he's doing over there. A lot of fun. Other than that. Well, here we go. As he says, sorry I could not make the show. On a Double should be back full effect next week. Amen. Can't wait. But let's go ahead and get on to the number one this week. And this is a fun one. Oh boy, it's not just one book, it's not just two books, it's all the hip hop covers because they are going nuclear.
Holy cow! This is again. This is the Miles spider effect here. There were a few of these that people were looking for, and we're paying halfway decent money for. But man, I mean, almost across the board. There's what 147 different ones of these or something. I mean, something ridiculous. Like
and the
hard set to put together. Whew.
Yeah. Oh, super tough set. I mean, I thought back in the day when I was collecting all the action figure Star Wars variants that was a tough set to put together. I couldn't imagine trying to grab all of these, especially because if I remember correctly, some of the early hip hop covers was like an incentive deal where you had to buy so many just to get the regular ones.
Yeah, it was like like Marvel was doing that weird, hey, you have to order 20% more than you did last month. Just to be, but I mean, if you do that, then you can, it's open order to you. But yeah, when Marvel kind of pulls that stuff, it makes it hard on especially some of the smaller guys.
Yeah, and some of you guys who are chatting in the live section right now are just really hitting it on the head. That guy DZ says, finally, the hip hop variants are getting a shine they deserve. DJ says, love the Slick Rick and Eric B and Rakim covers. Me too. For those of you guys that grew up during the 80s and love hip hop growing up, this stuff takes you right back. It's those feels. It's the thing that we all love about collecting, especially nostalgia. So make sure you guys, if you don't have these books, there are some of these covers that are just great, like DJ said. So very cool stuff.
Yeah, and some sales this week. The Miles is now $200 plus. I think there was a 9/8 sale of like 800 or 900 today, which is just insane. Spider-Gwen's 40, Silk is 50, Hawkeye's 40 plus, Black Panther's 30, Vision's 80. Just a long list of big dollars being thrown on these. And honestly, these are some of I've talked about how I don't like homage covers in general, but I do like homage covers when you go outside of the comic. So like I don't like the 300 ASM 300 homages because that was already a comic cover, but I like when things are homaged outside of the medium. So record covers, movie posters, those type of things are kind of different. You're bringing a different medium into the comic world, and I think that's a cool thing to do. But which, on a side note, when do you think there's going to start being like CGC or a company like CGC is going to actually start grading albums?
I think they're already doing it. I don't see, maybe CGC isn't, but I know there are companies that are doing it. And if they're not, Ben, I'll be flabbergasted. Like seriously, how can that not be a thing already when they're already grading, concert posters and old school concert flyers and stuff like that? They have to be grading album covers. It'd be stupid not to, especially, with all the reprinting they're doing of album covers, which makes those originals worth even more. Some original albums were super, super short printed. There's some Beatles covers where they had to redo because people didn't like them, all kinds of crazy stuff. But
oh yeah,
this is one of the books that I'm surprised we haven't heard more of, just because it was a 1 in 100 variant in these hip hop covers, and a beautiful cover, a beautiful take on the Sugar Hill Gang. If there is a book that should be just crazy in that market, it should be this. But the sales aren't all that crazy on this one, which kind of blew me away.
6 months ago, I think this thing because I almost bought this. I think this had dropped to maybe less than $10. I mean, just crazy low for a 1 in 100. I don't know what they're selling for now, but I would assume that just like all the rest of them, they're selling for more than that $10.
Yeah. Well, and another thing, if for you guys that don't know about all the hip hop covers, make sure you're out there checking them out, because I think it was DJ that said, it was that guy DZ that said he was surprised that they had a Far Side variant. I'm right there with you. Far Side is one of my favorite all-time groups, and I was surprised to see a Far Side variant on top of some of the other other groups that they did homages for. Some of you guys out there might be really, really deep into your knowledge of the music game, and you'll see some of these covers or groups that they chose to homage, and you're like, where did that come from? So very cool. Some of the tough ones that they have in that set. So yeah, and here we go. Stick says there was a one Beatles cover that had a bloody babies on the cover that they just pasted a new cover over it. That's the exact cover I was talking about. Super expensive, but again, it's Beatles stuff. But if there isn't some company out there, like you said, that is doing the album grading, there needs to be now. That's for sure.
Yep.
So, all right, gentlemen, crazy week this week again. Hip hop covers all the rage. We want to say thank you to everybody that joined us in chat, and make sure you guys go check out Bird City Comics over at facebook.com, Bird City Comics, and go check out the Absolute Geek podcast, their interview with Jack O'Halloran of Superboy or Superman 2 fame, and an amazing man in his own right that you guys should learn more about. Other than that, thanks for checking out CBSI, comicbookinvest.com, and we appreciate it. We're out.